Hello children, in this video I am going to tell you strategies on how to tackle a math paper. This is for CBSE students who have sections A to E in math starting from grade 7 or 8, and the paper is 3 hours. Math is a paper of nerves. It's like a game of nerves. To output what you know maximum into the paper, you have to be mentally stable. It is not a frightening paper if you do it in the right way. Look at the time division I have given for all the sections. Section A is the easiest. It's MCQ, assertion reason, hardly 10 to 15 minutes you should take. And do section A and B right in the beginning itself. So you have scored a lot of marks in very little time. And then you're clear with only 3 sections to do in the rest 2.5 hours. You can easily leave half an hour for paper checking if you do your time management very well. Look at the split I have given. You may do section D, C, D or E in any order that you want, but complete the A and B first in 30 to 35 minutes. Next, understand that if you take more time on a certain problem, you should leave it there, do it partially and return. Keep a section together. Don't do few questions of section E at one place and then come back to it or do another section and then do section C again. If you do this way, as I have written, the examiner will get irritated. It affects the way your marks are awarded. It is not done intentionally, but it doesn't look like a neat paper and it doesn't look like an organized person. Plus, it may lead to calculation mistakes for the examiner. They are correcting many papers. So you have to see to it that you make it easy for them to understand your paper. So see it from their point of view also. Paper should be as neat as possible. But most important thing is, if you may not want to do a certain question, you found it difficult, you're spending too much time on it, don't do that. If you think you have exceeded the time that you have given to a question, leave space and come back to it. Now, you may do the same strategy. You may do question 1, question 2, leave space for question 3, go to section D. And when you return, the space you have left is quite a lot. You may have left a page extra. You must cross it out. Always cross it out. This is why you have the extra half an hour in the end to handle all of these cases. And when you leave a question, always mark it on your question paper that you have not answered it. And when you're back, and if you have left space, cross it out. Always cross it out. And imagine you cross out 2 pages, and then the final page, you have written one answer. The examiner, when he sees the crossed out page, suddenly feels that the paper is done and he may miss to give marks to the last answer. So whenever you cross out, write in bold that answers are continued on the next page. I have seen these mistakes happen. As I said, they're correcting many papers together and they have a pressure on them to give the output in time. So it's very natural and human to make mistakes. So you have to present your paper in such a way that they don't make mistakes. I have seen this where a child crossed out 2 pages and had one more answer at the end and the examiner forgot to mark it. This happened in a school exam. So when we went to check the paper, it was easily shown. But if it happens during board exam, you don't get to see your papers. So it is likely that your last answer may not get corrected. So always important. Write. If it is not the last crossed out page, answers continued on next page. Don't know any answer in section A, pick one answer because you don't have negative marking. These are MCQs, but mark in your question paper that you need to come back to this to check. Don't spend too much time on a question because this section should be done very quickly. The same strategy applies to all questions. If you think you're exceeding the time that is given, that you have decided for a question, leave space and then come back to it later. Because while you are tensed, you will continue to think in the same way and will not come to a solution. When you have solved other answers and your mind is more at ease, you will think better, think differently. When you come back later, you will get your answer when you return to it later. I know my students have followed this strategy and have answered questions which they could not while they were solving the paper. At the end of it, when you have solved the entire paper, your mind is more clear. This is very important. Use the right tools. You have circles, geometry. Stencils are available with different sizes of circles. It's very easy to quickly draw a circle. Do not waste time with a compass. And if you are allowed to use multiple colors, that would be very nice, especially in case of proofs. So different color marking will help you understand your given to prove that section separately. Mark the given information in one color, what you have to prove in another color, and the proof will show you the answers directly. Suddenly all the congruence, rules, etc. will show to you clearly when you do all these markings. And if possible, use different colors, but never use a red color because that is for the teacher to correct your paper. Check with your school if they'll allow you to use black, blue, green, etc. Some schools may allow green, some may not. The next slide, I'm showing you an example that is of a parallelogram. To prove that parallelogram is a rectangle if the diagonals are equal. So you see I mark the parallelogram and the diagonals in blue color. What I have to prove is it's a rectangle, which is to prove that it's 90 degrees. That I have marked in a different color. So this way I know what is given and what I have to prove. Mostly I prefer not to use O in the labelings. Always label your diagrams because O gets confused with 0. If your question has both 0 in the answer and the labels to be used, it's better to use Q instead of 0, but it's up to you. It's your choice. Calculations. This is another headache. You have learnt identities, isn't it? Use it best. A plus b the whole square, a minus b the whole square, a square minus b square. This is extremely useful. Just change it into a plus b into a minus b and your calculations become very easy. I have given some examples to give you an idea. Multiplication by 25. 25 is 100 by 4. You can divide by 4 and multiply with 100. Or division by 25. That becomes much easier. Just multiply your numerator with 4 and divide it by 100. That's so much easier. So do that for 125, 50. Come up with your strategies to calculate easy. You know the great Shakuntala Devi, she used to calculate huge numbers in few seconds. She had her own strategies. Don't know how she did it. She didn't go to school. Of course, she is exceptional. Nobody can be her. But we can use some techniques, whatever is comfortable to us. Having knowledge of squares and cubes is extremely useful because you will use square roots, cube roots, and triangles are used all the time. Pythagoras theorem, and you will have to use Pythagorean triplets in cones, surface area, volumes. So knowing this by heart is a little helpful. If you have time, please go ahead and study that. Example, you see 24 and 25 on a triangle. You know that the third side is 7 immediately. All the best for your exams. Do not panic. Math is a paper of nerves. So follow a strategy, don't get tensed, and do well. And the next video, I'll give some tips before starting grade 11. It's for children going from grade 10 to grade 11. Thank you for watching.